This is our last session of the day. My name's Chris Lema, and I am here with the two Duda co-founders, Itai, who's the CEO, and Amir, who's the CTO. I think Itai is in the US, and more often than not, Amir is in Israel, leading the product and engineering teams there. It bears no introduction to the rest of you that are here and have been attending, but Duda is a fast-growing platform that has more than 22,000 agencies building more than 1 million websites. And this growth is tied to these two gentlemen. So today, what we're going to hear from them, as you heard Chris just mention, is the plan for the platform and where it's going and where AI is getting introduced. We're going to hear from them. And if you have questions as they're speaking, you see the comment section, the chat that is inside of the UI that you're watching this stream. You can put those questions there. We'll have people looking through them while these guys are talking. Ask your questions in the chat. We'll pull from there. And that's where, when we finish with these two sharing their future plans and insights, I will lead us in a moderated Q&A session. So with that, I want to give it over to Itai, who's going to kick us off. Is that right, Itai?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris, and looking forward to this session with you and Amir. Cool. Can we have our slides on? Just a second. Okay, sorry. So let's kick it off now. I think this is probably one of the greatest times to grow an agency. And let me explain why. First and foremost, we're at a peak in terms of small business formation. It's almost parallel to where we were in 2021, kind of peak COVID era. So we all know that the high volume of formation of small businesses is one of the key levers to agency growth. We're also seeing strong growth of agencies on our own platform. On average, an agency that joins Duda grows 436% in terms of the number of websites on our platform within 3 years. So the market opportunity is clearly here. So what's holding back from agencies from growing even faster? We asked exactly that question of 370 agencies worldwide who are not Duda customers. And these are the biggest pain points that they mentioned. Number one, website maintenance at 28%. The number two biggest pain point, website stability and ensuring ongoing performance, especially at scale. This initially surprised us quite a bit because you would expect agencies to say that maybe a big pain point is acquiring new clients or the rising cost of labor. But no, it's the brutal ongoing work of ensuring sites are up to date, maintained, and performing well. We at Duda believe that there's a solution to this, and it lies in better tools to enable agencies to scale efficiently as they address their clients' growing demands. About a year ago at DudaCon, we introduced Duda's new company vision statement. Just as a refresher, that vision is to empower web professionals to create the next generation of web experience. And this vision statement powers everything we do. It powers our product roadmap, and it focuses Duda as an organization on what we can do to help web professionals do better. At the core of this vision statement, we found a good way to visualize it is with what we call here the Duda Galaxy. there's two main themes. One is empowering web pros, and the second is next generation websites. And there's a couple of product categories under each one of these themes: productivity, performance, integration and expansion. On the next generation websites, is ensuring that web agencies can build transacting websites for users with personalizing those experiences, using data when building these websites, and making sure that they're building websites with cutting edge design tools. In today's session, Amir and I will focus on 4 of these product categories. Let's start with productivity and AI. AI represents the next major step forward in computing. It broke into our lives for many of us in November last year with the introduction of ChatGPT. And the Duda team has been working ferociously to ensure that we're integrating AI features into our product. And there's a couple of features that were released, and I'll talk about it soon. And there's ongoing effort to introduce more and more AI features going forward. We believe that the world of the web design is going to go through a tremendous amount of change, and AI is going to play a key role in defining what it means to be a web designer. Let's talk about 3 major opportunities for agencies to embed AI. First and foremost, to boost productivity, to dramatically speed up the time that it takes to build websites by introducing content generation and automating mundane tasks. Number 2, streamline acquisition. Use personalization of content to create a better experience and higher converting websites. And number 3, expand your services. Think of how you can embed AI to offer new products and new services that help increase and grow your revenue without increasing spend. As I mentioned, Duda has already embedded several AI features. So let's go through what's available today. AI Content Creation Assistant. So right now today in the platform, when using the widget, the text widget, you can create new content or recreate text, and all this while the AI knows the business that you're building the website for, the products and the services that business offers, and takes that into account with the suggestions of the new content. It's pretty cool, and I really recommend you try it out. AI generated SEO, another feature that we recently released, where the AI recommends titles and descriptions that will allow you to quickly add them to many pages with a few simple clicks. Our team is working on additional SEO features that will be added, powered by AI, in the next couple of months. A few other things that we're planning to introduce in the future is an AI-based content collection form. I'm sure a lot of folks here are familiar with our content collection form that you can use during onboarding, and we're going to enhance that with AI capabilities. So the AI will suggest additional questions that you can ask during the onboarding that are based on the industry and vertical of that specific SMB. And lastly, AI-generated site sections, which I'm really excited about. And that's creating whole sections with content and images pre-populated all through AI. It's going to be amazing. So we talked about the things that Duda has added in terms of AI, and that's only the beginning, because we really want to see what you, as our customer, can do on top of our platform using APIs and using AI. Some ideas are, and things that we've seen customers do, is create a DIY onboarding for your clients, where you can create custom experiences using AI and using content and information that you have about the business to create a very personalized onboarding experience. Also, the ability to create AI-generated landing pages at scale, again, with a little bit of information about the small businesses that you're servicing. You can create thousands of web pages pre-populated with data, all with leveraging our API. AI is not going to replace you, but another agency that makes better use of AI might. And what I like about this statement is that it focuses us on what the real fear behind AI should be. It's the fear of not doing anything. It's the fear of not training ourselves, not educating ourselves, just standing by and kind of falling behind. AI presents an amazing opportunity for everybody here to become better, to focus on strategy, to focus on research, to focus on what matters to help SMBs grow. And that's the opportunity for all of us. So there's hundreds of tools. Duda is part of it that are going to be powered by AI. I really urge everybody here to leverage those and make sure that you're servicing your customers in the best way and helping them grow. For the next part, I want to invite Amir Glatt to share some of the other areas that we're investing in. Amir?
Yes, thanks, Itai. Hey, everyone. Great to be here. And just to mention one thing regarding AI, we have a full session around AI that goes much more deeply into the product. I think it's happening on day 3, if I'm not mistaken, day 3 of DudaCon. You can see session number 2, how to 10x your agency efficiency without compromising quality. You'll be able to see here really what we are working on. And anyone that is interested in this topic, I highly recommend to join this session on Thursday. Cool. So I'm going to present my part. And let's continue with the journey. So great. So we talked about like productivity with AI. Now let's talk a little bit about the next generation of websites and focus first on the design part. So we know that design in websites is obviously very critical and evolving topic. There are always like new trends that are coming out, and designers love to use them and asking us to allow them to build sites with those features in the platform. And I'm talking about animations. I'm talking about responsive design with more breakpoints. I'm talking about overlapping elements and so on. And one thing that we've been really deep at work is rebuilding the core editing of Duda. So those of you here who are already Duda customers, you probably know Duda Flex that we introduced, I think 2 years ago, as a way to build a new type of section within Duda websites that is using the latest technologies. And what we've been doing in the last year is really building what we call Duda Editor 2.0, which is going to be based on the Flex technology. And when I'm saying Duda Editor 2.0, I mean sites and templates that are based completely on the Flex technology, no hybrid mode like you see today, which is standard sections and Flex sections. So with Duda Editor 2.0, it's all Flex sections, including the header, including the footer, including all the pages. You have only Flex, and we also made tremendous improvements to this product. Just to name a few things of advantages of this product, you can really build pixel perfect design. That's one. Second, and we're saying it after doing user testings with our beta users, you can build sites on Duda in 50% of their time, and you do it because you have to you need to spend much less time on things like adjusting spacing or alignment, or even making repeating content to look similar. In Flex, it's very, very easy to do. It is leveraging the latest CSS features, Flex, CSS Grid. It means that the markup that we generate and the CSS that we generate is really just like a web developer building it by hand. It's fully responsive, meaning that you can change the window size and see it changing on the fly. Also, when using the editor, when you switch from desktop view to mobile view, tablet view, you can see an instant switch, also something that makes the work much smoother and quicker. And in terms of performance of the live websites, we get even better page load speeds and core vital results with the Duda Editor 2.0 websites. on our templates that we built, we get above 90 score on Lighthouse test, which is like pretty amazing and difficult to do. Duda Editor 2.0, we are in the phase of launching it and like releasing it to customers. There's already around like 300 customers that already got access to it, and they are building sites with it as we speak right now. Over the coming months, I think like until the end of the year, we're gonna hopefully like release it to all the customers of Duda. We still have some missing features that we are working on to make it like complete, but this is going to be like our new editor, and we're going to push more features into it, and I'm sure that like you're going to love it. Then in terms of like I mentioned here, like even better page load speeds and core web vitals. So just to remind you what do we mean by saying like even better. So today, and this is like a screenshot that we are taking from a tool that Google built to compare different website builders and CMS platforms. How do they do with core web vitals? And you can see that here we are comparing Duda to the, I think like the biggest players in the industry, WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, and Webflow. And you can see that Duda is really on the top with like 73% pass rate, which means that more than 73% of Duda websites are passing the core web vital test, which is like very impressive. You can see like number 2 after us is 55%, so really like big margin. And as I said, with Duda Editor 2.0, it's going to be even better, like according to our tests. So I hope that in few months, like you'll have like much better design flexibility building sites on Duda without compromising on quality, productivity, and speed. Okay, so we talked about design in the next generation of websites, and let's talk about transactions, which is a big topic and something that we invest in a lot. And I'm talking about here, like Duda e-commerce. But let's talk a little bit about the opportunity first. So what we see like in the internet is that 70% of websites are coming from areas like restaurants, personal services, professional services, and so on, while retail sites are only around 10% of the websites, and 20% are other like B2B sites and other verticals. And when we look at like sites being built on Duda, this is also true. The majority of sites being built on Duda also like belong to those 70% of websites. We have like a nice amount of like retail sites, but most of them are like professional services, personal services, and so on. And the question is, do SMBs need to transact online even if they are not retailers? And what we are saying and seeing in Duda is that the answer is yes, that most sites can transact and should. And SMBs, they really need digital as a channel, way beyond retails. And there are so many possibilities. Here, what you can see here is a screenshot from Duda e-commerce. When you add a new product, we just give you like some examples. You can create a physical product, which is a standard one, but you can add a digital product, or you can add a service and like charge for it, or you can ask for a donation, or you can sell gift cards or vouchers. And there are so many different scenarios. If this is like online booking, the charging, if this is like selling tickets, if this is selling gift cards. And we really see like live examples of websites being built on Duda e-commerce that are not necessarily just retails that are using online transactions capabilities. To show you just like few examples, screenshot from a Duda website selling ice rink rental service. So you go to the website and you purchase your appointment for ice rink rental. Another example of a Duda website on Duda e-commerce is Kind Flow retreat registration, selling like tickets for a retreat festival. So definitely not like the default retailers that we see. And while we're at it, I want to say like a few words about like Duda e-commerce. So Duda e-commerce, it's a product that we launched last year. We continue to invest in it. It's growing like quickly. We have now thousands of live stores on Duda e-commerce. Many of them are retails. Many of them are other use cases like I showed here. In the last few months, we added a lot of capabilities to Duda e-commerce. We added like tax automation. We added products and product options and variations. We had different product types. We added digital products. We added a way to kind of like manage your customers and for your customers to log in to see their transactions. And we have like a very exciting roadmap to continue on Duda e-commerce, adding subscriptions, adding shipping automations, and so on. Also here we have a dedicated session to talk about like, e-commerce and online transactions. It's happening tomorrow at session 1. Also very interesting session. So I recommend everyone that wants to know how to do it to get to this session. And I think like if you're an agency and you are not offering today any e-commerce capabilities, you should rethink it and see if it makes sense to your customers. Those products are typically more expensive, creating stickier revenue stream and higher revenue, and you should take advantage of that. All right. So we talked about like the next generation of websites and what we are doing to invest there. Let's go back to empowering web pros and talk specifically about integration and expansion and what you can do with the Duda platform to integrate and expand. And this is, I think, a topic that is important for every agency that wants to grow. It wants to grow either to become more efficient or to create additional revenue streams on top of what you're doing today. So 3 ways that you can really expand on the Duda platform. The first one is to add apps from our app store. The second one is to build or to buy and integrate your own solution on top of Duda. And the third one is to use our APIs to connect between Duda and your own workflows or system. Let's talk about it in a bit more detail. So the App Store. First, the App Store is growing very quickly at Duda. We see number of apps being installed and used growing very, very nicely across the year. And we see also that sites that are installing apps, they have 50% lower churn rate, which means that those sites are stickier and provide more value. It's good for us, for Duda, but I think it's also great for you as agency owners, as you provide stickier sites to your clients. In terms of the App Store itself, we have now 50 plus apps and counting. We release new apps every month. Just to name a few, we have great apps for compliance and accessibility. We have great apps for GDPR and consent management. We released recently Book Like a Boss, which is a terrific online booking solution. We have Paperform for advanced form with logic and payment, and more. We are also working on an exciting project. We call it Connectors. We're going to release apps that will be able to connect between Duda and popular services like MailChimp, like HubSpot, like Salesforce, and we hope to release that this year so you can start using it. So that's the App Store. Second is how do you build your own widgets and apps for your clients only. So Duda, we have a tool called the Widget Builder where you can really build your own solution. And those solutions that you build can be available for all your sites in the platform. Now, one thing that I'm also excited to share is that I think the end of this month, we're going to release a way to transfer widgets that were built in the Widget Builder from one account to another. It will allow you to buy widgets much more easily from Duda partners that are building widgets and want to sell them. Today, this process is pretty difficult, and very soon it's going to be automated. So if you have dev capabilities, you'll be able to start building widgets on Duda and sell them. And if you are an agency without dev capabilities, you'll be able to buy widgets from others. And what type of widgets you can build? You can build a lot of stuff. You can enhance design flexibility. Let's say that you want, I don't know, a slider with a very specific requirement that Duda doesn't provide. You can build that in the Widget Builder. Or you can integrate third parties or even connect to data that you have on your own system. And then the last one is the Duda APIs. So the Duda APIs, I think those areas are some of the biggest value that we can provide to our customers. We have a very extensive API that you can power any workflow you can imagine. So you can integrate Duda into your production workflows, meaning that when an order is coming in from a customer, you can create the site automatically, push the data that you collected from the client into the content library, and create a link to your design to start working on it, for example. You can spin up like new websites in milliseconds. And this is like very useful if you want to run like ad campaigns and create landing pages at scale based on some parameters, as an example. And we also have Duda customers that really even built an AI landing page builder on top of this API, which works really nicely. And you can log clients directly into your system using our single sign-on API capabilities. And just one example of one of our large customers called Strive, which is like a very successful SaaS platform, providing lots of solutions for SMBs to manage their business, to manage their online presence, and so on. And they use Duda and Duda extension capabilities and API in a very large way. First, they allow client access via single sign-on. So their customers are logging into the Thrive dashboard, and from there to edit the website, they click on a button and they go into their white label Duda editor without logging in to Duda or to any other system. Second, they really automate the team workflow from their CRM and project management tools, like I mentioned before. So they get an order into their CRM. From there, they automatically create all the assets, create the site, push content, push data, and create a link to the team, to start working on it. And third is that, whenever they create a site, they get business information from multiple systems that they have, and they're syncing it all into the Duda content library via API. So when they work on the website, they save lots of time to gather this content, and also this content stays fresh if it changes afterwards. So this is just one customer of Duda using those expansion integration capabilities. We have many of them, and I think those customers are really seeing huge value from those capabilities. So I think this is it for this part. The web really evolves, and Duda innovates with it. So I think you can all trust Duda to be your trusted partner when it comes to website building, also for the future. And I think, Chris, I'm gonna let's get back to you and open the Q&A session.
Thank you. That was fantastic. I just wanted to clarify one thing. We had just started the session and someone asked if I always match my hat and shirt to the colors of the slide presentations. And I just want to let people know that's only if folks like these founders pay extra. That costs extra cash. So that's not for everybody. Guys, that was fantastic. That was excellent. And of course, we had just heard the previous session talking about agencies and touching on AI. And here we go right into the platform and AI. So I want to start, Itai, with a question that's pretty open, wide, and generic, which is simply, what are you hearing and how are you responding to the agencies that are worried about introducing AI into their platforms and workflows and everything else, worried that it's gonna rip them out of a job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question, and one that I feel pretty passionate about. And my answer is very clear here, that AI is not going to replace you. I think tools and tooling is becoming simpler, and that's a historic fact. It hasn't started with AI, right? Chris, you've been around here, building tools and products for many years, and it's much easier today to build a website than it was 10 years ago, and easier than it was 20 years ago, because of tools like Duda and now AI and a lot of other tools, AWS, and we can go on and on and on. So I think technology evolves, and the agency has to find its place in the world. And I think it's not about putting a website on the internet. That's not the agency's work. The agency's work is around building a digital marketing strategy for a small business that will help it grow. And I think AI is far away from being able to do that, right? In order to build a strategy for a small business, You need to understand that businesses' pain points, the opportunities. You need to be a marketer wearing a marketing hat. You need to understand where leads are coming from, and it could be from social media, Google. You need to think about where that traffic is going to convert and where to put CTAs, and how do you nurture it afterwards. So there's all that, putting all that together around a strategy that makes sense and will eventually show ROI for that small business. This is the agency's work. And let AI take care of automation and removing the mundane tasks and making this process easier, simpler for the agency, so the agency can service a lot of customers and basically save cost at doing so.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And you're absolutely right. Tools have always made it easier, so we shouldn't be surprised by that, right? But tools don't replace us. So, Amir, I got to jump to a very specific question that was low-level practical, but it was just a natural outpouring of what you were talking about. You did so much to talk about this new Editor 2.0 that Christian asked, is it better to wait for the Editor 2.0 to build a new website, or will it be added to all the websites? So help us think through the practicality of, do we wait? Do we start building?
Yeah, good question. I think I wouldn't wait. I think it could take a few months before the Duda Editor 2.0 is going to be released for all users. One thing that I would say that if you like Flex today, it's better to use Flex sections in the site that you are building. And if you're using Flex sections with the existing editor, you'll be able to take those Flex sections, save them as sections, and then add them to Editor 2.0 version. So I don't know if we're gonna, at least in the beginning, there's not gonna be automatic migration, but for all those Flex sections, you'll be able to easily port them from one website to another. And that's the path that I would go with. So use the current editor, use Flex. When 2.0 is available, move those Flex sections to the new website.
Yeah, Amir, I want to go back to another thing you talked about, which got a lot of positive attention in the comments, is when you started talking about agencies that have developer capabilities to start building widgets and parts and being able to make them available. As we dig into that space a little bit, are there particular areas or spots where you think there's a wide open space for agencies to jump in and really get involved with this?
You mean space to sell widgets to do the users?
Yeah. Are there particular kinds of widgets that are more interesting or more practical? Are there things that you want developer partners to jump in and enhance Duda in their own way?
Look, I think in Duda, first of all, we as a platform, we cannot cover all solutions, and that's especially true when you go to specific verticals. So I think the chances that we'll prioritize in our roadmap specific solutions for plumbers or dentists or lawyers or whatever vertical is very, very low. So anything that is verticalized and there's a large enough market for, I think is very good idea to create widgets for those market integration with popular services for those verticals, and then sell them for other Duda folks that are building that. That's one. Second, I think Duda e-commerce, which is relatively new product. There's a lot of opportunity to build e-commerce related widgets and apps that we would love to see from our ecosystem being built. And third is really on the design flexibility, which we know it's endless. We invest quite a lot in that in Duda, in trying to make widgets as flexible as possible, but we can never get into the taste of everyone or the request of everyone. So also I think more niche design flexibility widgets I think are also very welcome always.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to go back to you, Amir, before I jump back to Itai. And Crossrest Nexus was asking questions specifically around client permissions and levels between full access, limited access. And I wonder, is the underlying ability to create and to bring in dev partners into it. Is that a place where either the API or what's available with widgets will allow developers to start adding potentially their own levels of specific access, right? Giving customers the ability to make some changes, but maybe not full change?
So like in terms of like, the permission, we added quite a lot of permissions. And I think like whenever we're releasing like new features, we also like think how kind of like granular, like, the permission should be. An example is now like the AI that we released. So, like all the content assistant that Itai mentioned is available like, for staff members and for owners. But for clients, you have a specific permission if you want your clients to be able to use AI or not. So whenever like we release new features, we are thinking about permission as well. In terms of like, concrete plan to do something between limited content and like and full editing, we don't have anything like specific for that. But we are thinking about it, but like nothing specific that I can mention.
Awesome. Itai, you started your presentation talking about the vision statement that you shared last year, and then enhanced with that diagram and walked us through a series of both what's here today in terms of AI, the tools for SEO, and being able to enhance the text in the blocks that you have, but also what's coming soon. Are there agencies that have already started putting this to use in interesting ways that you could talk about?
I think it's it's still early days. We just kind of released those features relatively recently. I think I've seen interesting things. Definitely, I know there's a lot of agencies that are making use of the AI content generation for sure. And even we see here in the comments that folks are saying that it's been pretty valuable to them. Some of the interesting things that I have seen are, I would say, today probably more around kind of automation. There's definitely companies that are using Duda APIs to create some DIY flows. Can't mention which ones exactly, but definitely a company in kind of the marketing branding space that asks multiple questions of the customers, gets some information, and then once it brings that customer into the Duda editor in a DIY experience, you can see already a page is up there and loaded, the business information that they gathered. They made smart use of the questions that they asked the customer. For example, what vertical are you, what industry is the site for? So then you can kind of preload templates that are related to that business. Or if you ask that business questions around address and their email and phone number, populate all these things in advance into widgets on the site so that that business has a great head start. So these I've seen quite a few examples of that. I've also seen other companies make use of our APIs to build leveraging data that they already have. So some of our customers have a lot of data in their CRM about their customers, and leveraging that data. So it could be images, it could be, again, business information. Through our APIs, they can create thousands of landing pages or websites for their businesses completely automatically without that business needing to do anything. And then the business, usually it's a good starting point, and the business can go in and claim that site and continue to develop it if it wants to. But I've seen like great examples around that in the real estate industry, in the travel experience industry. I've seen like really, really great sites that you wouldn't believe that they were automatically created without human intervention.
Itai, can I add some stats from the usage of our AI feature so far? So this is like fresh from the oven. So I think like we see that like, for the AI content assistant, we see more than 100,000 100,000 requests to generate content with AI so far. But what's really impressive that we see around 75% of like those requests the Duda customer that is doing it is actually approving the suggestion from the AI. So this means that like this is like really valuable. By the way, also like interesting to see that the number one, right? We have in the content assistant different type of text generation. You can write a new paragraph, you can improve text, you can translate. So the number one in terms of popularity is really like the improved text.
Yeah.
And I personally also, this is like one of the things that I love the most about AI. You know, me as a non-native English speaker, I can write like, you know, whatever I want with my half English and just do improved text, and I sound like, you know, so professional. And I think this is a great capability that everyone can use.
We did a Duda meetup here in Houston just a couple months ago. I don't know, middle of summer maybe. Yeah. And a bunch of Duda agencies came out, and we were having a conversation about AI. And I pulled one agency aside and asked them, have you used the any of the AI features in Duda? And they said, yeah, the enhance or improve my writing. And they're like, I now click on it for everything. Like, it doesn't matter what I write. I like, here, just make this a little tighter, make this pop a little more, make it whatever. And you're like, yeah, it's a fantastic use of AI.
Fantastic. I agree. And like we added like the option to set the tone of the website.
Yeah.
So this improvement will take this tone of the website as a parameter. So it doesn't have to be like, so like, you know, high English. It could be, if you choose a tone of more kind of like conversational, it will use that. So that's great. Yeah. And for the SEO part, that we just like really released it like 2 weeks ago. So right, 2 weeks ago, we released the option on a page by page basis to generate the meta title, meta description. Just like, you know, I think 2-3 weeks ago already, we see that 25% of new SEO fields are being used with this AI, and also with very high conversion rate. I think for things like that, things that like, you know, right, how does it work? We take the content of the page, we take the other context of the business, what type of site is it, and we send it to the to AI to basically summarize it, but in an SEO optimized way, right? For description, for title. I think like for that type of tasks, the AI can do a better job than humans. And very soon, Itai, as you mentioned, we're going to release the bulk generation of SEO with AI. So you'll be able to go and with one click generate, like, you know, all the titles, all descriptions for all the pages of your website. Of course, you can review it, make changes, and so on. This is going to be amazing, saving like, you know, hours of time. I think from everyone building a site that is more than like, you know, 3 pages.
We have 3 or 4 folks that are saying, hey, we get that you're talking about AI and we get there's a movement toward AI, but can we put a pause on that for a second and ask the question about security and specifically 2-factor authentication? Amir, can you give us an update on where that sits?
Yeah, you know, I have to admit that it's kind of like a long overdue for us. Like, we need to edit, and we're planning to edit, like, you know, very soon. It's like really like in the top of the roadmap to add the MFA capabilities to the Duda platform. We hear it loud and clear, also on the idea board. So the only thing that I can say is that, you know, stay with us a little bit more, and it's going to be available. It's going to be available, like, you know, in the coming few months in the Duda editor.
Yeah. Yeah, let me add into that. I think MFA is definitely important. It's part of overall, like, the, I would say, security features that Duda invest in. And Duda, we recently got, I think it's ISO 27001 certified. So we're definitely focusing a lot on security and different considerations related to security and business process continuation. So it's a big topic, and Duda is very committed to continuing and investing in security.
Yeah, one of the folks on there, we're now filling up with the comments, so I haven't gone back to see who wrote it, but they were like, "Hey, don't you know, like, in security, humans are the main issue?" And you're like, "Yeah, we know." Right. So you just have to go back in and say, okay, what do we have to do to protect ourselves from ourselves? Right. Amir, I know that a lot of the presentation was on these big initiatives and big, you know, moving significant progress forward on AI. But would we be incorrect in assuming that that's all we're working on here?
Yeah, that's incorrect. And and I think that what we realized that Duda, it's always true, but I think in the last year we realized it even more, is that we need to invest more in the small things, in the small features that many of our customers care about, just as much as we invest in the big projects like do the e-commerce or AI and so on. And what we did is we started a new tradition in Duda, which we call the small improvement sprints. I don't know if you kind of guys who are listening, who are Duda customers. I hope that you managed to see that in the last year, especially if you follow the product updates feed, you saw a lot of small improvements from Duda on little things that people care about. And that was not that didn't happen by a chance. It happened because we decided every quarter or so, or maybe every 6 months, we're going to do a sprint. We're going to stop working on big projects, and we take the entire R&D organization and focus on small things. And we prioritize there things that have high votes on the do the idea board and other consideration. But we're doing it, and the next one we're going to do it I think in November. It's going to be the next small improvement sprint. So afterwards we're going to have I think hopefully a lot of small features that we're going to release as well. And we're really baking it into our culture of small is very important, not just the new and the big ones.
That's excellent. And how often are you running those sprints for the little stuff? Is it once or twice a year? Is it more than that?
So it's going to be, I think, between 2 to 4 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Chad Ever asked a question that, again, I'm going to start back with you, which is will the 2.0 builder, Amir, put to rest outdated widgets in the current builder? For example, multi-location and the inability to connect to an external collection.
So actually, the 2.0 builder, in terms of widgets, all the widgets are compatible and are the same. So the new editor is based more on kind of the layout and the how pages are being structured, and all the backend of Duda, how this is being stored. Now it's all in a model and so on. The responsive design aspect of it, the new CSS, but widgets by themselves, the same widgets that you have on editor 1.0 are going to be available on 2.0. So it's not directly related.
Got it.
Yeah. Also remember that it's very important. Lots of our customers, they have custom widgets that they built on the widget builder.
Yeah.
It's very important for us to make sure that all those widgets work well on 2.0. So we decided to make the widgets kind of agnostic to the editors.
Yeah, Ben was asking, wait, editor 2.0, where did I miss the announcement? Can we put on the screen the URL for we talked about where you can sign up to get beta access. I know there's a URL for it. And so if we can get that back on the screen, then anyone who wants to sign up and get early access to try that out can get to it. Itai, let's come back to you. When we're talking about investing in AI and investing in workflows and processes, right? Are there particular areas we talked about in your survey? There was maintenance. Maintenance was one of those things that people were struggling with. But are there other areas where agencies could make use of AI in their workflows to speed up their efficiency?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've seen, I've talked to some of our customers. We have customers that, on the support, I think the support side is an obvious answer many times.
Yeah,
I know we're thinking about it as well, right? There's, we all, that's an area where there's a lot of information. And for example, if I look in the Duda database in our Zendesk, there's a lot of questions and answers that were asked. And I even posted to our own VP of support, how can we improve there? How can we automate some of our responses based on the data that we have?
Yeah.
I think the tools are, for example, I know Zendesk is investing, but it's not completely there yet, where AI can respond and respond a full answer that would be meaningful enough and useful enough for users. But where I think it is now is that it can help your agents provide better answers. So it can suggest, like, at least give a head start for these agents with providing a suggestion of how to answer a client. And then and there's multiple tools that do that. And then the agent themselves can use that when responding to the end customer. So it still needs a human intervention or eyesight to just review the answer, but it does mean that humans can potentially become more efficient, more productive in answering. Potentially you need less people, or you're able to give better SLAs in terms of your response to clients, leveraging AI in support, for example.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, right? We've seen agencies start playing in that space of going, especially for products and platforms, right? We know that people are going to ask questions. Let's go mine all the tickets and all the questions we've already answered and make that kind of support easier. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the same thing with documentation, right? Like how much more can we flush out documentation by making it easier, right, for people to figure out what they're going to do next or how they do it. That's excellent. Folks, we are getting close to the end of this. So if you have more questions that haven't been answered, head back over to the comments and make sure that you get the questions in there. And that way we don't miss you as we get towards the end of this. What was, Itai, when you were looking at that 300 plus survey of agencies, digital agencies that are these weren't Duda clients, but were in the digital space. Beyond the fact that maintenance was at the top and performance, were there other things that were surprising, interesting, or telling that kind of shapes how you're thinking about the future for where Duda goes?
Mm-hmm. I can tell you that something at least relevant to us. We know when we think about Duda and kind of our own brand awareness, we were surprised to see that even though there's some pretty big competitors in our space, in the website building space, we saw that there's a lot of agencies out there that even if when asked today, they might not be using today, but they are considering to use Duda. So I think that's something that we saw very, very favorable, that we feel that there is at least a movement to, for agencies to consider more modern, more agency-focused type of website builders compared to some of the traditional website builders of the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing how few folks, right? How we're watching a need for massive amounts of landing pages and massive amount of content on those landing pages, and people are still using older tools and older technologies and older approaches to pursue it, instead of going, okay, how should I be able to do this today? And so what Duda's doing to chase that down is impressive and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it gives us a good feeling that we've been Amir and I started Duda 13 years ago, and we feel that we've built a platform for agencies, and we've spent a lot of time over these years talking to many agencies out there. It has influenced the product direction, right? And clearly we've added, everything that we build, we think of, you, the agency, like how can we make you better? How can we make you more efficient, more productive? And it's great to see that folks out there are appreciating it and using the platform.
The other thing that was surprising, Amir, at least surprising to me, and it happens all the time, right? You're talking to agencies, you're talking to people, and you're thinking, surely by now you've embraced some form of e-commerce, right? And yet the number of agencies who go, we're not touching that, right? We're not going near it. And so as you started looking at the data that was coming in, as you started seeing retail only represents one part of e-commerce, and that matches what I'm seeing, right? The guys at Amazon are building an Amazon Pay payment gateway just for service industry, right? For your plumber and everything else, right? And so you go, yeah, there's a whole lot beyond catalog and commerce, right?
Yeah.
And so how surprising was that to you, Amir? And how are you driving and helping agencies feel that confidence that you know they can get there?
Yeah, you're right. You know, it's interesting. We have like an annual survey that we're sending. I think folks here, like on the line, probably like many of you are answering those surveys that we ask every year. And one of the sections there is really around e-commerce. And we saw actually like we have like the question: do you build e-commerce websites on Duda or elsewhere? And we saw a decline this year. Pretty significant of like more than 5%. So like in the last year, Duda customers who are answering the survey only, I think it was like 60%, only 60% are building e-commerce websites. I think in 2022, it was like more than 65%. And obviously, like we see some slowness in retail e-com new sites after, like, you know, in COVID, there was like a big peak, like, you know, for e-commerce, right? Yeah. It grew exponentially. We saw it like, you know, in our own e-commerce solution. We saw it like, obviously, like, you know, Shopify and the others, and it cooled down. And I think that's fine. But when we think about it and when we saw the use cases out there, we feel that, like, you know, people need to kind of like rethink e-commerce for SMBs. And as I said before, it's so much more than retail. Like, you know, if you want to be modern today, if you have an SMB website, you need to allow people to pay you online or to do all those things. People prefer that experience, right? So I think there's a big opportunity. And I think it's a big opportunity for agencies to drive, like, you know, higher revenue from the same clients that they're already like serving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right on. Amir, we have just a couple minutes left, so I don't know if you can pull this off in the amount of time we have left. But one of the folks here, Hans Knapp, asked, Amir, what makes Duda's R&D unique and able to deliver on these capabilities?
That's a great question, a question that I like. So, you know, like kind of like running an R&D organization is all about trying to be kind of like more productive and more kind of like systematic with what you do. And we are trying in Duda to invest a lot in, like, you know, the R&D automation. So we, like, I don't know if like folks know, but like, you know, there are like more than 4 times a day that a new version of the entire, like, you know, Duda platform is being deployed to production. And it happens automatically, like, you know, after, like, so developer is, like, you know, pushing a code, someone is reviewing it. Then we have like lots of tests that are running, visual tests, regression tests, UI tests, and so on. If everything is passing, then it goes into like the release candidate, it goes into production. The deploy itself is automated. If something goes wrong, like, you know, we automatically roll back to the previous version. So there's like a whole team in Duda that is investing so much in that, because we understand that, like, without that, we cannot move fast. That's the key to be able to move fast. And one thing that just recently was, we checked and we were like really proud. We are using a tool called LinearB. It's a tool that like kind of like sits on top of our Git, and giving us a lot of statistics about, like, you know, the way that we work. How long does it take from the time that like a developer write the code until this code actually, like, you know, reaches customers in production? Or how long does it take to review? How many reviews do we do? How many times we deploy a day? All of those statistics that engineering teams like care about. but there's like clear correlation then between those stats and how successful the company is. And we're like, really excited to see that we are like, in what they call the elite, in the top 10% of companies. This is across like, more than 2,000 dev teams in terms of like, our KPIs on all the stuff that I mentioned. So, the Duda platform is really big. There's so many features, and we need to invest in so many different areas. It's like important to have like those automation running across the chain. And I agree that like sometimes we do have like regressions, even though we invest in all of that. So if it happened to you, I'm sorry about that. But just know that like we are investing like a lot in trying to minimize that as much as possible. And if something happens, to be able to react to that as fast as possible and to deploy like, a solution with a fix to production.
All right, let me get us to a close here. Itai, do you have any last words to wrap up on?
It's exciting times. As I mentioned in the session, we're early days in AI. So nobody should feel like they're left behind, or there's, everybody's still trying to figure out how they're going to leverage AI and how AI is going to be embedded into their business. It's not too late. It's actually, as I mentioned, very early. Take the time, do the research, train yourself, play with different tools. Almost every SMB tool out there is going to be adding AI features, not just Duda. So, make sure you stay on the ball in regards to AI.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. And thank you to everyone who was watching. Make sure you come back for day 2 tomorrow. Tons of great sessions over the next 2 days.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Itai. Bye, everyone.